Welcome to Ask the Security Guy. I am Holly Magnuson. We're here in what I like to call Studio H. And today is, we're doing this live on January 9th, 2019.
I had total visions of like this being a Jetsons future,
It ain't there yet.
but last time I checked, I'm still hitting potholes.
Yep. Also, just FYI, we are in the second episode of our 5th year of Ask the Security Guy.
Wow, has it been that long?
It's been that long, and this is, if I still know how to count, episode number 39.
Wow.
So, just a quick housekeeping thing. The chat should be there on the right of us. I've gotten people who've complained saying I can't chat. It says I need to log in. Well, even though YouTube is owned by Google, it's still kind of a separate account. And if you follow the bouncing ball that it will lead you through, it talks about setting up a channel. Don't worry about that. You don't have to publish anything, but it allows you to be able to use the chat because we'd love to get your questions as we talk about this fascinating, frustrating, not sure what word to really use about this one. But with that, I think that's all the public service announcements. Sean, we're going to talk about phone phishing.
Phone phishing. Yeah, that it's also known as vishing, Vishing, if I can spell.
I think you got that one.
Yeah. We do want to get into that, and we've got some variations of it that are pretty interesting. One from our dear friends at the IRS.
Yes.
And
now Social Security Administration is getting in the game.
Yeah. And a number of banks are actually doing it now too.
Oh, see, I haven't gotten any of those, thankfully.
Yeah. I got a really interesting one right before Christmas. I was actually shopping when the call came in from my bank. The correct number, correct caller ID, all of it. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Sounds good.
So we are in the new year, and as we do every year, we wanted to recap the worst passwords of 2018.
Yes, must have those. I think there's a few new ones on the list.
There are. It's actually quite kind of surprising, and our favorite monkey has actually slipped a few spots.
Unbelievable.
I'm sad to say, not really. So with that, firmly entrenched in number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 has not changed ever.
Yeah, it's an oldie but a goodie. Not.
Number 2, also unchanged. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7.
7. Okay, I was going to say, wait, that was number 1.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is up 3.
Wow, we're getting
to our number 3 slot.
I tell people, think longer's better.
Yeah,
not quite what I had in mind.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 5 digits remains firmly entrenched in 5th place.
So much irony there.
Yeah. A new entrant in spot number 6, 111-111.
Sad.
Yes. Also a new entrant in number 8, Sunshine.
Aww.
Very uplifting.
Yes. But not a good password, so stop using it.
Number 10, I love you. Unchanged. Is holding his spot. We have a new entrant in slot number 11.
Uh-oh.
Princess.
Okay.
Not even going to touch that one.
Nope, just keep moving.
Down 1 is admin. A new entrant in number 14, 666-666.
Okay, I'm just keep going. I have thoughts, but we'll just keep going.
I mean, for a Christian university, that particular set of numbers could have interesting meanings.
I was going to say at least they didn't just stop with 666.
Yes, I do appreciate that.
That was where I was going, but
they doubled down.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to make of that. In number 15, also unchanged, ABC 123.
Another oldie but a goodie.
Yep. Football is down 7 points this year.
Well.
Yep. Yep, they got knocked down to 16. Monkey comes in at 18.
Wow. How big of a drop is
It's
that?
down 5.
Down 5.
Yep. We have a interesting new entrant in slot number 19, 654321.
Hey, they were getting more creative.
We're getting more creative, going backwards on
yeah.
the number key. Also, in number 20, a new entrant, exclamation point, at sign, pound sign, dollar sign, percent sign, caret, and sign, and star, which, if you look at your number key, is all the special characters on top of the numbers.
1 through.
In order.
Yeah.
So while I would love to give props for creativity, no.
Still not a great password.
Holding down the shift key and doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, still not cutting it.
Yeah.
Oh, including 8. Number 21 is a new entrant, Charlie.
Okay.
Number 22, we finally have some diversity in the mix. AA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And I'm so glad that none of these were found at APU. At least I'm going to believe in my heart of hearts they have not been found there.
Well, so yes, because of our password policies here at APU, none of these exist at APU. However, we'll get to some more interesting data after we finish the list, because even though they don't exist at APU, I am worried that they exist somewhere else. So number 23 is also a new entrant, Donald. Ain't touching that one either.
Yeah, just keep going.
Number 24, also a new one, password 1. And number 25, new to its space, QWERTY 123.
Yeah. Did that one drop?
No, actually, it's newly in spot 25.
Oh, okay. I would have thought that one would have been more popular. But
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, so this list is generated every year by a company called Splash Data. And they have a number of products. One is a competitor to LastPass. And then this same list was published recently by our friends over at Gibson Research, Steve Gibson, with Security Now on Twit. And as always, we strongly support and encourage people to listen to his show as well. And he's always a great source of information for us and our listeners.
Yeah.
From Steve's show, he pointed out the Splash Data estimates almost 10% of people have used at least one of the 25 worst passwords on this year's list, and nearly 3% of people have used the worst password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, where do we get the data? Because that's always the big question, right?
Where did this come from?
Yeah. According to Splash Data, the over 5 million leaked passwords evaluated for the 2018 list were mostly held by users in North America and Western Europe, and they were found on leaked password lists from compromised accounts. So, and just as another public service announcement, none of these leaked password lists came from adult websites.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't say there aren't.
Right, but
we didn't include that in this. Because we're guessing that those passwords would probably not be fit for public consumption.
Yeah, let's keep moving on.
So with that, we wrap up 2018. Passwords still the bane of our existence, and well, they still suck.
Yeah.
But as we've mentioned numerous times, long pass phrases. That's the key. Make it easy to remember. Make it nice and long. Do some substitutions in there, and keep your sanity and use a password manager.
Yes. LastPass, Dashlane, 2 of the best. Another one we're going to kind of check out this year. Yep.
We talked about that in our last show. So we're doing some research on that right now, and we'll let you know what we find. So, phishing.
Phishing, yes.
So, as I'm sure some of our listeners know, we've gotten voicemails, we've gotten phone calls.
Yeah.
I actually had the privilege of talking to an actual human being that called from my bank.
That's right. So yes, please share.
So the way this all happened, it was before I took my holiday trip this year, and I was actually shopping with my wife, and a call came in from my bank. Well, this time of year, if you see a call come in from your bank, you're more likely to pay attention to it because, well, there's always the worry about fraud and lost credit card
Yep.
information, that kind of thing. So I answered the call, and it was a representative claiming to be from my bank. Actually had some information, not all of it, but enough to get past the first 30 seconds of conversation with me. And then he said, "Well, did you order a pair of shoes in Atlanta, Georgia recently?" I said, "No, haven't been to Atlanta in a number of years." He said, "Oh, that's really troubling." I said, "Do tell." And he said, "Well, there's a purchase here for $242.39." He was very specific: dates, times, address, location, in Atlanta, and all that data matched up. Interestingly, though, he said, "Well, we need to issue you a new card." Okay. So at this point, he hasn't asked for any information from me that would raise any red flags,
Okay.
which I thought was pretty interesting. It's like, okay, all right. And my bank is actually quite proactive with this kind of thing. So then he says, "Well, what would you like your new PIN to be?" I said, "Well, I'll just set it when I get it. So why don't you just throw something random on there and I'll take care of it when I get it in the mail?" "Well, no, sir, we want to do it over the phone." And
No.
I'm sitting there, it's like, and you lost me. So sure enough, I gave him. Now I knew where he was. And I wanted to see where this was going to go. So I gave him a number, just a random number I've never used before. He said, "Okay. Well, now I just need your existing PIN code." And I'm like, I'm not in a place I can talk right now, so just send me the new one and we'll handle it. "Well, no, sir, I can't do that. We have to do that over the phone right now." So now it becomes urgent. There's a sense of urgency there. "Well, sir, I mean, if we don't finish this process right now, we'll have to lock your account and you won't be able to use your card until you call back in and finish the process."
Okay.
And I'm sitting there going, not a problem for me. Knock yourself out. And finally I said, "Look, I will call you back in about an hour when I have time to call from a secure location, because right now I'm in a mixed setting. I can't control who's hearing what I'm saying. I'll call back in to the main number and we'll finish the process there." I said, "Thank you." Click. So get home, and I did call back. And guess what?
It wasn't legitimate.
There was no fraud alert on my account.
Nope.
And they had no record of ever calling me. And they didn't know that somebody was actually spoofing their outbound calling number and caller ID. They do now, and they had taken record of it, and their security team was moving on it when I hung up the phone. But we're seeing an uptick in calls like this. There's a live person on the end of the call. In my particular case, the accent was not obvious. It was, general, what you would expect, from a southern part of the country. Wasn't foreign. Didn't sound like anything. There were no red flags that we would normally think about when we profile voice patterns on this kind of thing. So that was interesting, and so that got me thinking. It's like, okay, well, it's not the first I've heard of this, but it's the first I've gotten. So I started doing some poking and prodding because I haven't looked at phishing tools in a while. I know it's easy to spoof caller ID and outbound caller number, but I haven't looked into those tools in a while because I just haven't. So I did, and it turns out that just doing a quick Google search, there are a plethora of open source and commercial tools to spoof outbound caller number and caller ID name. And you can call from any number and be anyone. Some of them are subscription services, some of them are free. They all use voice over IP technology and outbound, calling through things like, oddly, Google Voice. So bear that in mind. Just because the caller ID comes up as your bank and may look correct, do not assume that is them. Call back to a known published number and work through whatever their verification steps and follow their process. Because now we're seeing an uptick on this side. Holly, you sent me a couple voicemails. Our boss has sent me a couple voicemails from the IRS, and you said the Social Security Administration.
Yep, Social Security. That's the one I received. Yeah, that my benefits were going to be cut off if I didn't contact them.
Okay.
And the first thing I think about is our senior citizen group, who are not comfortable with technology.
Right.
Will hear that and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't not get my Social Security check."
Yep.
And they're going to call that number and give them whatever information they're asked. And it just sickens me beyond your wildest imagination about this. So if you have elderly family members, talk to them, warn them, let them know that this is a thing that could happen.
So, and what makes this even trickier is it is actually legitimate for banks and well, the IRS will never call you.
No.
And the Social Security Administration won't do that either. But generally speaking, if you get a call like that, the simplest way to verify it is to hang up and call back a known good number. So if you get a call from the IRS, great. Hang up on them and call the IRS back and follow through on a process. Your identity may have been stolen. Somebody may have already filed a tax return in your name. And that may be your first alert that something's happening. Do not engage with the person that called you. I did because, well, I like to play with these people.
Yes, you do. You do the challenge.
And I like to see what their script is. I like to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, what hooks they're using, etc. The one that worked with me maintained an air of professionalism throughout the call, which I was really impressed with.
You would be.
I've seen now, and the reason I say I'm impressed is because I've had calls like this, and as soon as you call them on their bluff, the facade drops, and you're dealing with, you're dealing with somebody who is not that. This person kept the facade going the whole time, even when the call ended, and offered to call back at a more convenient time.
I bet they did.
So that's that. So be careful, be thoughtful. But if you are in any way suspicious, a red flag goes up, they ask for something they shouldn't be asking for, like, a PIN number, hang up, call back. Do not call back the number that called you. No. Look up the number associated with whatever that account is and call a known good number.
So I have a question. For a while there, I haven't gotten any in a while, but I would get these phone calls and they would be, it's one of the Asian dialects.
Okay.
No idea what they're saying. They would leave the voicemail, no clue. Do you know what the issue there is? Have you seen any of those to know what their end game might be?
So typically those calls are claiming to come from an embassy to a person who is here on a visa of some sort or traveling.
Okay.
And it is a native language scam where they're here in the U.S. on either a visa or they're on a business trip and just visiting on their passport. And the call comes in native language and says, if you don't pay X amount of dollars, you'll be stuck here or you'll be
whatever,
arrested or deported or all kinds of evil, horrible things. And usually there's a hook of you go to this person or you transfer money to this person and the fine goes away and you're good to go. And it's very effective.
Yeah, most of those numbers I noticed would always have the same prefix as my cell phone number.
That's a new, well, not necessarily new, but a newer thing.
Yeah, that's yeah, I've seen that a lot where it's, and because, back when we first started having cell phones here at APU, they were kind of a block of numbers. So
Yeah.
the first couple of times I figured, oh, this is another APU person. I just don't have their number in my phone. And then I soon said, forget it.
Yep. So I actually get about, in the course of a week, I'll get about 5 or 6 calls like that. And I've answered a few of them, and it's usually the IRS guy. Telling there's a legal action and they're going to come take me away. Okay, well.
No, you're not.
Yeah, okay. But the interesting thing about it is, like you said, it's the same area code and same prefix as my cell phone number. And I'm seeing that more and more and more.
Well, and I watched a video by what might be one of your idols, Kevin Mitnick, talking about how they do that. And he demonstrated in the video how that process and how incredibly simple it is.
That's easy.
So
yeah.
I do want to give a kind of a shout out to my bank on the fraudulent piece. My son, who I gave him a credit card for one of my accounts so he would have an emergency fund.
Right. Okay.
Well, he tried to buy books Monday night and it kept not going through. And the next morning when I looked at my personal email account, there were 3 emails from my bank, possible fraudulent purchases. Because this purchase was out of the ordinary, they flagged it, emailed me to verify. Well, then, I was concerned because I said, yes, these were all 3 valid, he tried 3 times, bless his heart, to, get his books ordered. And so then I'm like, now, am I going to get charged 3 times? So I've been in communication with my bank. And I just, and I told him, I said, yes, this was legitimate. However, thank you.
Yeah.
I would much rather have to come back and confirm this than us dealing with fraudulent charges. So,
well, last year around this time, I took a trip back east over the holidays, and I forgot to notify my bank that I was traveling. So I went to buy a slice of pizza in Philly. I just gotten off the plane. I was hungry, and not one but 2 of my cards got declined for a slice of pizza. This year, I remembered.
Yeah, like I said, he's only used that card a few times, and it's like $10 or $15 to buy groceries.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been very, but like I said, and it wasn't even really that much money. But they flagged it.
Yeah. My bank was super easy about it. There's an app on my phone to access and manage my bank accounts, and they have an option right there to put in a travel alert. Yeah. And all they asked me for was what region I was traveling. Okay. That was easy enough.
Yeah, I really appreciate what our banks are trying to, and if you have a bank that's not trying to do those kind of things, let me know. I'll tell you which one I'm using.
Yeah. Yeah, we're certainly not sharing that here.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, when you think about it, they're using a number of algorithms to look at it, but they're looking at behaviors. So, for instance, if my card is used to purchase something here in a merchant location, not online, but in a merchant location here in LA, and then an hour and a half later, it's being used at a merchant location in North Carolina, that's a problem. Because last time I checked, Hyperloop wasn't out there, certainly not cross country.
No.
And it's physically impossible to be in those locations with the same card.
Right.
So they're looking at simple things like that, geography, time-based, location-based, behaviors. Yeah. The kinds of purchases.
Buying books on a website, not Amazon.
Dollar amounts are another big one. So, for instance, I ran into a small credit card I used to use for only small purchases. Well, then one day I had to use it for a large purchase, and all kinds of bells and whistles and phone calls and everything else went off because it was outside of the ordinary. It was a vendor I never shopped at. It was a dollar figure that was completely unusual for that card, all kinds of things. And it set off red flags, and I was getting phone calls from them and emails and text messages. And so I had to call them back and verify that, yes, it was actually me, and they were fine.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
So, but in an era where you can pretty much guarantee that your credit card information and your identity, if it hasn't been stolen, it will be, or somebody's going to leak the information. And I so love it when people tell me, well, they don't do anything online, so they're safe. The sad fact is, even if you don't do anything online, your information is still stored electronically.
Yeah.
So, and they are the custodians of your data.
Well, and both the Target and the Home Depot breaches from a couple of years back were not online breaches.
No.
They were in-store issues, if I remember correctly.
Well, the Target one, they were both breaches of payment card systems. Now, Target was actually one of the largest of its kind at the time, where they leveraged a trusted third party to gain access. So oddly, it was the HVAC vendor.
Yeah, I remember that.
Proper controls were not in place. So, and the Target security team, they were just inundated with stuff. So they didn't see it coming.
Yep. Any other thoughts, comments on the issue of phishing?
No, I think, just basically we're at a point now where you can't trust caller ID anymore.
No.
And frankly, that's been the case for a number of years, but we're seeing a significant uptick in the use of it now. So just be cautious. Yeah.
So I think with that, I don't see any questions, but if you do have any, you can always reach out to us at iso@apu.edu.
And we've gotten a number of good spam submissions on that address lately.
Yes.
So for those of you who are submitting them, thank you. We love seeing them.
Yes. And we will be back in February. Already have a topic planned. I'm really I think it's going to be a fun one. And so.
Well, and right in time for Valentine's Day too.
This is very true. I hadn't even put that twist on it. So with that, we'll sign off, and thanks for watching and being a part of this, and we'll see you in February.
All right. Bye.